Welcome everyone. I am Mr. Goldenbaum, and this is Supremacy 1914. We are back on the Scattered America map playing as Oklahoma. We are at the end of day 7, so a lot of this information hasn't changed. In the statistics, unfortunately the statistics this time around don't really provide that much information. The most efficient nations are the AIs, and a lot of these lower nations are either at war or have a lot of newly conquered provinces. It really won't become relevant until later in the game when you have larger nations. You might have an opponent with a lot of provinces, they have a larger quote-unquote economy, but is it efficient? Do they have the infrastructure to back it up? Or are all the resources that they're producing being used straight away in the consumption as each province as a daily requirement of each one of the resource types? Once these last few units kind of regroup with our Western Army group being led by Hank, we'll have 48,000 infantry. Not high morale, but if you look at our opponents here, they don't have the best morale either. It looks like our opponent knows what's going on and has begun construction of fortifications. When I last checked, there were no fortifications here, but it looks like the guy is active. I can't recall if there was a level 2 fortification here previously. Just going by the partial construction, I'm going to go with no, and this guy knows exactly what is going on. What you can see here is we have our primary army group moving down south with most of our cavalry and a few of our armored cars. The armored cars are great at soaking up some of the damage with their 60 hit points, which will just help us preserve both our infantry and cavalry. And Lawrence is always great with his 75 hit points to lead an offensive, as terrible as my level 1 stats are. And the movement speed is really nice. One of the reasons why I do not have my forces going all the way to the fortification is because we've been burned in the past. During the invasion with Chihuahua and seeing some of the forts kind of magically start to spring up, I'd like to avoid making that same blunder twice. Now, these fortifications all seem natural. I haven't seen anything out of South Mexico that might indicate heavy gold mark usage. I mean, in fact, he's been struggling to conquer some of the provinces here in the south and against the AIs. He's been able to wrap up one of them, so I believe he just has 2 opponents at the moment, 2 active wars. Yes, Central Mexico and this other province this other AI minor that I cannot pronounce. If we look at his average morale, it's around 72%, which isn't bad considering that his average morale in his core territory is looking pretty good, 100%. I don't see him having any active deficits, or at least he's competent enough to be able to manage his sliders effectively and potentially purchase any of the resources that he may be missing. Looking at his production, he's got the double steel and he's got the double fish. Having these 2 early game, especially if he's able to maybe crank out some railroads or some harbors, that's going to sustain his economy, at least in the early game. For those 2 resource types, it looks like his additional conquest gave him additional material, so this guy is fully set on being able to invest significantly into his infrastructure and being able to feed his troops with the double fish. His issue, though, is energy. I mean, he's got 2 in the east here, 2 centrally, and then he's got 2 more in the west. Yes, he's got a few, like 1 more in the south here, but I mean, 25% morale. Let's see if he can even keep it. I mean, these are 51%, so not doing the best either. I think our priorities... Let's try out this new tool. If you guys know of a better tool, definitely share it. I'm not as tech savvy on a lot of this stuff here. I found a good free one that I would be able to utilize that serves its purpose pretty well. But we have our 2 army groups. Let's call them West and East. Our priority targets for Army Group West would include the Energy Province. I'd like to cause him as much trouble as possible here by taking this energy province and potentially 1 or 2 additional ones By kicking down the door, we may be able to crumble his entire economy. After the coal, we definitely want the double steel for ourselves, even if the morale may not be the highest. It's certainly a province I want, and I want to keep growing, as this is going to help fuel a lot of our industrial endeavors in the future, followed by this double wood here. I'll take the oil. Oil is extremely valuable, especially in the later game, on a map that doesn't have a significant amount of double oil provinces, at least in my neck of the woods. But all of these territories in this area would be huge for us to... I think I drew a little chicken or something here. Oh, that's hilarious. Anyway, for Army Group North, unfortunately, I don't want to hit this double fish province head on. It seems like he may be able to reinforce it rather easily. I'd rather break through where it's a little bit more poorly defended. Once I can kind of get through the initial front line, cause some initial casualties, I am fine taking a detour through some of his other provinces, and then splitting off some forces, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 troops to kind of secure some other areas that are poorly defended as I march on to take these energy provinces, the double, and then ideally sack his capital. I'm not too interested in a lot of his territories in the south here, just kind of given his morale. Similar to what we were able to do with West Mexico, even if we were able to get an Orhan or an armored car or anything to kind of wreak havoc, even if it's just 3 or 4 provinces, we may be able to disrupt any of his production that may be going on. The guy is certainly no stranger to workshops. He's got a little too many of them at this point. I bet you they're not functioning at full capacity. I do understand the workshops in the double provinces, even if you're not using them to their fullest extent, as that will lead into factories and additional units. But for a lot of these other provinces, it is just a waste of resources, which also leads me to believe that he is overinvesting in a lot of these single provinces without much of a reward. I mean, I look at this, I mean, what does he have? Recruiting office or workshop or barracks workshop? I don't... Looking at that, I'm not too concerned. Gold marks may still be an issue, but I guess we'll see after our initial fight. If we're able to secure these initial provinces, I don't think there's much else that'll be able to stop us. Just a quick update with Chihuahua, and I'm saying it right this time. It looks like he's gone on the counteroffensive. He was able to bring a few of his troops over to the west, secure some of these fish provinces as we start looking at resources. Fish are his weaknesses. I'm sure he'll take the wood. I think he's trying to take some of his resources back. But I'm a little astonished as to the fact that he is able to start regrouping. That he's able to take the fight over to South California. If we look at the scoreboard here, if we look at the statistics, North California is very competent, has been doing very well. And on the flip end, Chihuahua has done well. I don't think it's enough to be able to stop California. Once our troops are able to kind of come in range here, we'll be able to keep an eye out for the primary contact point between these two countries. If California looks like he's making the final move, the strike, and he's able to break some of the Chihuahuan defenses. Unfortunately, we would have to act at that point. I do not want these provinces to fall to California. He can take some of the western ones. They're longer distances, so it'll take him a little while to be able to fully conquer them. But I certainly don't want to give up the east. California is exploding his Achilles heel. I mean, all of his fish is concentrated in the west, and although California has three double food provinces, being the 2 double grains and the double fish, he doesn't need any of this stuff, so he's not going to get much of a benefit. Yes, he'll be able to invest in additional cavalry or deploy some additional infantry, but it's not going to help his infrastructure. So this may be a win-win. We're able to get California to commit additional troops and resources for minimal gains, and at some point, each one of these provinces that he takes would have, and I'll click on one of my provinces here, is going to have the material and energy upkeep in terms of the daily consumption. So each one of these costs 800 materials, 800 energy, and you keep multiplying that by the amount that he's able to conquer. His economy may not be able to handle these additional provinces. The northern front has been pretty quiet. Getting this shared map from the AI has been massive in terms of being able to extend our view range. Our balloon would have cut off just shy of some of these South Dakotan provinces. So by having this 12,000 here, we actually are able to view some of the details in terms of buildings, any potential production, and then unit counts right on the border. Louisiana has had a lot of success. As you can see, Georgia has now officially been entirely occupied, and he is working on a few of these straggler provinces in the south. I wouldn't be surprised if he did go for the Caribbean islands, but hey, I'll say it right now, YOLO, if you are watching, I think this is kind of like a honeypot situation where, yes, these provinces are probably weak. They've been fighting with Florida, so they may not be as strongly defended as some of this other territory in the north here. But there are no double resource provinces, and each one of these is going to require you to embark and disembark. Embark and disembark. The travel distances will be very slow. There's going to be a lot of back and forth depending on where the AI chooses to kind of sail from and land, and you'll have to go back. The distance from the capital will be significantly longer than a lot of the provinces up here in the north. I think this is a lose-lose situation where you're getting closer to that expansion penalty ticking, and you're really not going to be able to benefit from a lot of these resources. Even if you again do conquer it, you're able to max out the morale, invest in the infrastructure. Any of the unit production in this area is just going to take forever to reach the mainland, and you are leaving yourself exposed if one of these other nations decides to build a navy and you're not able to keep up. You may lose all of these territories. In terms of the race for the most provinces, we are just squeaking ahead of Louisiana here by 5. But this has really been a tale of two different matches. After the initial success we had in Texas, and our friend here did join in, he has had AI after AI after AI and AI, major nations, and of course all the minor nations are being controlled by the computers, but he hasn't really gone up against any active or any players, let alone active players in the East here. A lot of these other nations here are, they may be somewhat active, but I mean, if you look at them, they played for a little bit, kind of got destroyed. I mean, looking at the statistics, I mean, North Carolina has not been doing well. Kentucky's been suffering a lot. So all this entire area is just ripe for expansion. And it's been this perfect little world in the East here of everything kind of going right. Whereas in the West, it's been player after player after player, and more players, and then even more players, with a lot of surprise attacks, defensive actions, hero spawns. I mean, Chihuahua was spawning units in every single one of his provinces not too long ago. It's been an entirely different tale. Not to mention, you do have some pretty strong players in the West here, with California, Utah here doing really well, going after Arizona now, and then South Dakota having the strongest army in the game at the moment. It's a pretty rough and tough neighborhood, I would say. So, YOLO, unfortunately, I gotta say, I think this is the easy mode over here in the East, and the West side here has been a little bit of a hard mode. Yet, despite that, you've been doing really well here. I mean, 42 provinces, almost double what most of the other top players have at this stage, outside of maybe, South Dakota and Quebec. You're double a lot of these other nations, so you're doing great. His infrastructure is coming online. He's going to get his first factories up. It looks like he did go for the investment in the double energy. Given this stage of the game and how much energy he does have, I don't think a boost in coal is really going to help him out that much. I do understand some of your initial provinces, as he may have had a shortage at some point, and this has a high morale, so he's able to get the most benefit out of this railroad. But I would have thought that he would be saving some of his investments to be able to tick over into level 2 factories, or be able to produce additional artillery or tanks, opposed to kind of going for a double coal. On the flip end, you see us, we are struggling for a little bit of materials here. We are trying to get the food production up and running on this end. This double fish is certainly a priority, but before we're able to commit to that, I do want to keep our factories kind of churning along level 2, get the artillery production, have enough for that, and then primarily focusing on our 2 double material provinces here, until we are able to secure 3 additional ones in the south that are going to significantly increase our production. And with that, we will see you guys in the next episode.